In the final rounds of global corporate case competitions like HUL Lime and the Mahindra War Room, the pressure is crushing. The next generation of executives are battling to prove they can operate at the highest levels of global business. To win, they must demonstrate growth in emerging markets. These are the specific geographies currently being analyzed by elite Indian institutions. But these students aren't looking at Wall Street mergers or Silicon Valley monopolies. They are analyzing rural, grassroots cooperatives. Solving the complexities of the developing world has forced the brightest minds in business to look for answers in some of the most impoverished places on the planet. The traditional Western corporate playbook is highly predictable. Build a centralized megafactory, maximize profit margins, and sell to a middle-class consumer with disposable income. This diagram illustrates exactly why that model shatters in mid-20th century India. When a centralized factory attempts to reach thousands of isolated rural villages over non-existent infrastructure, the supply lines simply break. We saw this historically. Local farmers were exploited by entities like Polson Dairy for cheap raw materials, while imported Western prosthetics were priced completely out of reach for rural amputees. The math is clear. A business cannot successfully operate when its supply base and its consumer base have no wealth to give. Indian leaders like Vallabhbhai Patel recognized that the system needed an entirely different architecture. They pioneered a concept researchers now call the network as a firm. This animation shows the foundation of the Anand pattern. It doesn't start with a factory. It starts with millions of independent farmers, each producing just 1 or 2 liters of milk a day. These scattered individuals pool their microscopic resources, physically clustering together into 18,600 localized village societies. Those village hubs then link upward into massive district rings, which channel everything to a single apex marketing federation known as GCC-MMF. Here is the critical difference. Look at the flow of capital returning to the base. Amul returns 85% of its profits directly back to the farmers. The global corporate average is just 33%. That high return creates an unbreakable supply chain. Because the network shares its infrastructure efficiently, Amul keeps retail prices low for poor consumers. By cutting out the middleman, they engineered a functional paradox: low retail prices that simultaneously generate wealth for the suppliers. That same economic constraint led to a redesign in the medical sector. Dr. Pramod Karan Sethi and craftsman Ram Chandra Sharma needed to build a prosthetic limb for a rural population with almost no purchasing power. They practiced frugal engineering. Instead of using expensive imports, they built the Jaipur foot using locally sourced vulcanized rubber and wood. They designed the limb specifically for the environment of the user. An amputee wearing this could squat, walk on unpaved terrain, and even farm barefoot. They avoided the trap of a centralized megafactory. The simple design allowed small, rural workshops to build and fit the prosthetics on the spot. The Jaipur foot succeeded by adapting the product to the environment rather than expecting a low-income consumer to adapt to an expensive, imported standard. The data shows the impact of this intervention. India moved from a non-player to the largest milk producer on Earth, generating billions in annual revenue. The Jaipur foot achieved similar results. It is now actively distributed to amputees in over 30 countries across the globe. This model's reliance on local, decentralized networks gives it extreme resilience. It actively functions in active conflict zones from Afghanistan to Colombia, places where traditional corporate supply chains often collapse. Amul and the Jaipur foot are specific examples of grassroots networks reaching a scale that outperformed their traditional corporate competitors. Tomorrow's executives are obsessing over these case studies. The centralized monopoly is no longer the only way to achieve growth. This animation illustrates the ultimate takeaway, a concept known as donut design. In this model, prioritizing social impact and community wealth serves as the primary engine for the bottom line. In these specific environments, the advantage doesn't go to those that extract wealth, but to the networks that distribute it most efficiently.